One of my absolute favorite humans, Adam G. Stock, will be joining us here in just a moment. It is the continuing saga. That is our expert buy low, sell high series of episodes here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Vespers. Thank you all for joining us. As usual, please, as you're settling in, sinking into your lounge chair, hit that like button, subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify after the fact, throw that 5-star review on the old goodies there. And before we bring Adam in, I got to tell you quickly about Bet Online. They continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. Bet Online has the earliest odds, in-game live betting, and the ability to watch the games as they happen on the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, and UFC. Head to Bet Online today. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. There is my buddy Adam. Adam G. Stock on social media, Elite Fantasy Basketball. How's everything going, man? Besides, you told me, like, before we started that this has been a little bit of a relaxing couple of days with fewer basketball games to worry about, but just in general, how's the season going?
It's good, man. I mean, Rockies start with all the injuries, but I feel like we're starting to settle in a little bit. I haven't had one of those weeks where I have like 6 guys with an injury tag lately, so that's a positive.
Yeah, and I kind of guess that, like, maybe that's a side bonus to this weird NBA Cup schedule where most of the NBA has like 3 or 4 consecutive days off, and then next week there's another break between the end of the weekend and the finals and all that stuff. So shrugs.
Yeah, it probably depends on your setting. I think on Yahoo where it's combined, it's okay. But if I had injured guys on like ESPN where they didn't combine the weeks, I'd be panicking right now. I remember last year, just because the short weeks just create so much chaos. And if you're beat up, like you're screwed. I remember in one league, I was playing an injured team and I won 8-1. And then my team was injured in the other league and I lost 8-1. So it was just like in those 2-game weeks, like if you're injured, you're dead. There's nothing you can do.
I want to play the Even Steven bit from Seinfeld right there. Just like you're Even Steven, man. There's nothing you can do about it at that point.
Yeah, it's not like I did anything fancy to get that 8-1 win either. I just got lucky and I got unlucky in the other one.
Made the right team. Do you think there's any way that if we like do enough grumbling as like grumpy old fantasy analysts that we could get all of the sites to just take the total number of games over 3 weeks and split the games in half, and that's the midpoint? Like, it's not that overly complicated if you're just like, all right, here's how many games there were in week 7. It was like 50 something. Week 8's like 20 something, and week 9 is 30 something. If you just mush them all together and you're like, all right, well, where's the midpoint? By the way, it's basically after today. It wouldn't have been that hard for them to be like, all right, period 7 goes through Wednesday. Period 8 is Thursday through the following Sunday. But I get it, though. Like, the schedule is kind of confusing. I don't know if I fully understood it until about 6 days ago. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that like Monday was the last day instead of cutting it off on Sunday. Like, did we really need that Raptors Knicks game on Monday? I don't know about that one. That was weird. I mean, maybe you could get Yahoo and Fantrax to do it. Like, good luck with ESPN doing anything.
It's true. They probably still don't even know when the next NBA Cup games are. Anyway, as all of the listeners know, when a guest is on the show and a guest is bringing buys and sells, the guest is also in control. I do my very best to shut up. I'm not good at it. So it's comparative analysis. Like, I'm going to talk less than usual, but it's not going to be little. So Adam, you got 5 names. Where do you want to go first?
Yeah, I guess we'll start with the guy who I think is the most obvious buy low in the league. When I'm looking at guys that I want to buy low on, what I look at first is guys who are doing everything they should outside of shooting the ball well. Because just 20 games in, you're going to get a lot of weird shooting variance. That doesn't necessarily mean a lot for what's to come. So for me, it's Bane. Yeah, some of that is injury related too. That's kind of why the minutes are down as well. But a lot of it is just the shooting. He's shooting 43 from the floor, 81 from the line, and 32 from 3. Last year, he shot 46 from the floor, 87 from the line, and 38 from 3. So there's so much room for improvement. It's currently ranked outside the top 100. So maybe you could get him for like a top 75 guy. And once his shooting normalizes, he should be like at least top 50-ish. And the minutes have been there lately. If you look at his game log, he's been over 30 in 4 straight games, and he's put up mid-round lines or better in all 4 games. So he's trending in the right direction. So that's not someone I would wait too long on. So that's my first guy.
The I'll just try to play a little devil's advocate, even though I very much
Sure.
agree with you on this one. The pushback I've gotten on Desmond Bane when I've mentioned him in the past as a possible buy low is, oh, the Grizzlies have an abundance of riches and that they have a lot of guys, guards, wings, whatever, that they're willing to play 28, 29 minutes. And so that's why Bane maybe hasn't done what he's done to this point. Do you put any I stopped myself. I almost said you put any stock in that. Uh sorry, bad, really bad. I wandered face first into it. Do you put anything in that idea, or has most of the Bane stuff been rust, basically working his way back from injury?
Yeah, like I get what you're saying. He's not going to play 34 minutes all of a sudden or something like that. He's not going to play what he did last year. But the Grizzlies have been super deep in the past too, and he's still got in that like 31, 32-minute range. So I think once he does get ramped up, he should be fine.
What would you be willing to give up to get a guy like Bane? And I know it's impossible to be like, oh, this is the player I would trade, but is there a window somewhere between where he's ranked now and where you see him ending up, and that's the kind of sweet spot?
Yeah, so like I was trying to think of guys. It's someone like CJ McCollum, maybe, who's putting up nicer like popcorn numbers, but you worry about that late season um availability, and is like some of his popcorn numbers aren't going to stick, like his steal rate, for example. So guys like that, who when managers are making the comparison, they're going to look at points, assists, rebounds right away. So some guy who's above Bane in those areas right now. So even so, because you're trying to confuse a guy almost at the end of the day when you're making these trade offers. Like, yeah, they know Bane's gonna trend up, but it's hard to ignore a guy who's maybe averaging 5 more points a game.
Here's a good one for you. While we're still talking about Desmond Bane, and I am of course talking to the great Adam G. Stock. I say it that way because so people can just remember what to look for on social media. I got this question yesterday. Would you sell high on Malik Monk to buy low on Desmond Bane? Is that the mix, or is there?
Yeah, easy on that. Especially a guy like Monk. Like, yeah, he looks great, and they say he's going to start, but like, who knows with the Kings? They've said that like 4 times already this year. Guys like that are no brainers. I would be willing to go higher than that with more established guys too. I trust Bane quite a bit. I mean, he's still young. The odds of him having actually fallen off are very low.
Yeah, I'm. By the way, I'm with you. I'm going to do my best to try to push back and where I can on this stuff. But I'm with you on Desmond Bane, like 14.5 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. It's really like you see the minutes trending in the right direction. You see the field goal attempts trending in the right direction. We always knew he wasn't going to do as much as he did last year when the whole Grizzlies team was hurt. But even if you went to, I guess that'd be 22, 23, if I'm remembering my years right. That's when guys were there for most of the season, and he was still a top 40 guy. So like he didn't need to be taking 18, 19 shots to get there. He can do it in 15, 16, something like that. So I'm with you on Desmond Bane. And again, like don't take it the wrong way if I try to push you on any of this.
Yeah. No worries. No, that's good.
You and I basically agree on almost everything we talk about. And you also told me who your names are on this show. So I'm going to do my best to sort of like throw a few punches on the fly.
Okay. So that's actually a nice segue into my next guy, because I knew you actually didn't like this guy.
Okay.
So for different reasons. So Miles Bridges. So like obviously he's not for everyone, but to me he's pretty tempting because you're going to be able to get him for dirt cheap. He's hurt, he's playing poorly, and not everyone's willing to roster him because of the off-court stuff. But I think like his efficiency is going to jump significantly. He's shooting like 10% worse than he did 2 seasons ago when he was playing with LaMelo. So that number is going to come way up. I think once he starts playing a little better, the minutes are going to jump. I'd be surprised if he didn't eventually get to like at least 33. LaMelo and Miller are playing more than that, so that's not necessarily his ceiling either. He was also trending up before he got hurt. Again, he's another guy, you pull up the game log, look at those last 4 games. All 4 games are at least mid-round lines, and there's a couple first-round lines mixed in there. So I think eventually could get like top 60-ish again, and you could probably get him for dirt cheap at the moment.
Do you have any worry that his field goal percent may just continue to trend in the wrong direction just due to like, I think he's taking a higher percentage of threes this year, or did it feel more outliery?
It's a bit of both. Like there's a lot of guys around the league who are taking a lot more threes this year. Like 3-point attempts are way up. But I don't see it to the point where I think the trade-off's going to be poor. Like sometimes extra threes with the field goal percentage drop can be a bad thing, but I don't really
Right.
see that with Bridges just because I think his 2-point percentage is going to spike.
I'm looking at the numbers from a couple years ago, and I have to admit that I went back and forth on Miles Bridges during draft season. And the question that I kept asking myself was, Miles Bridges with LaMelo was a guy that generally shot closer to 49, 50%. Miles Bridges the last year without LaMelo, when he was sort of like the big usage guy, was at 46%. And so my fear was like, oh, and I had the same fear on Jaren Jackson, by the way. And with JJJ, there was apparently no reason to have it, although he's might come back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
With Bridges, my fear was, okay, well, what if the field goal percent doesn't come back and then the usage drops because of Brandon Miller, because of LaMelo starting the year healthy, at least? Hopefully we see him in the not too distant future. And I don't know that we have an answer on that necessarily, but it feels like you feel pretty confident that he'll get back at least to where he was last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like at the end of the day, it's still 11 games. If you pulled an 11-game sample size, look from like January to February, you wouldn't even remember it with your guys. But just because it happens at the beginning of the year, everyone panics. I could see him coming in a little low just because Miller's obviously taking a bit of a step. But from where he is now, he's a lock to trend up.
Miles Bridges right now is ranked right around the edge of the top 100. What do you think? Forget what do you think, because you never know. Every league is different. What are you willing to part with? Other guys in that same range? Would you even go a tiny bit above that just to grab something with a little?
I go a tiny bit above it. Like I could see myself giving a top 85-ish guy if Bridges fits my build, right? Like we always got to think about like our punting build when we're doing this, because if you're targeting a guy who gains 3 rounds of value in your build, like you can get more aggressive with your buy low targets versus a guy who's maybe neutral in your build. Then you got to be a little careful. Or if you're punting one of his stronger categories, then you really got to be careful.
Is there a punt with Miles Bridges? He's a relatively well-rounded guy.
Yeah, he's a well-rounded guy, but you could do stuff like punt assists, punt steals, but no one really runs punt steals. Punt blocks, in theory, he's great because usually he's a high field goal percentage and high rebounds guy for his position. So there, I think there's quite a bit of upside.
Just looking at some of the names that are ranked around Miles Bridges on the board, would you rather have Bridges or DeAndre Ayton?
Bridges. I don't want that Portland stink on my
Yeah,
roster. It's just not going to end well. Yeah.
That is a stank up in Portland, and just watching him play, it's like he's doing the camp out thing.
Yeah, no disrespect to the Blazers fans, but yeah, we know where that's going late in the year.
Yeah, and they do too. One of my roommates from college constantly texts about how bad his team is, and like watching DeAndre Ayton, I get it. It was unpleasant at times to watch him in Phoenix, but they were sort of good enough around him that I feel like maybe it papered over some of that stuff a bit, and they knew it. And like there was always the rumblings, and Suns Twitter hated it. And now in Portland, where the team is bad, and he's just doing the like, I'm just going to hang out near the bucket on defense, and like I'm going to collect a whole bunch of defensive rebounds, but there's no way I'm chasing somebody out to the perimeter. That's like that doesn't look so good, does it? But this isn't a show to rag on DeAndre Ayton. I'm just thinking of like player versus player stuff in that range that honestly, I feel like you could probably get Miles Bridges for Ayton right now. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ayton is Ayton, but he still puts up good numbers, like where you want him to. Like for the most part, like you can't expect him to get to the line or do anything crazy like that. But
he'll
give you a double, do it efficiently. I mean, that is use. I would like Ayton a lot if I thought he was going to play in March.
Yeah, I'm not the world's biggest Miles Bridges guy, but I also can't argue with value, and it's like it pains me to say it, but he is value right now, and because he's missed time, that gives him an even cheaper price. And all those guys around him, almost anybody that has any name recognition ranked close to Miles Bridges, you could probably get him for, including some guys behind him, like looking at Derek Lively. If you weren't punting something, that wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Who else is in there? Naz Reid is right next to him. Although
easy ones, yeah.
I talked a bit earlier today about how literally every forward on the Wolves, every forward and center other than Naz Reid has played in all 23 of their games. So there's a little bit of that going on. But like Ayton is close to there. Gafford, McCollum's right there. Andrew Wiggins is right there. Mikal Bridges, iffy, I guess. All right, I've sidetracked us. I love the player versus player thing here to work a deal. Adam, what are you working on right now? Before we get to player number 3, let's sneak that promo in the middle before people are like, "All right, they're done. I'm turning it off." You got to hang around for the other 3.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, so basically, this is good time with the show. I just finished about a week ago a buy low, sell high for basically the entire league. I went through the top 100 at the time
Oh
and some
my.
other notables who were outside of the top 100 and went through their entire line and been like, this is sustainable. This is not sustainable. So that was my big, most recent thing. This week, not as much going on just because, but box score analysis every day, projection updates every day. There's some tools. So there's lots of good stuff, and that will continue all the way through the end of the year. It just never stops. You're going to get 100+ box score analysis. It's a bit of a grind, but the subscribers like it.
Yeah, there's only a few games over the course of the season. Again, find Adam on Twitter at Adam G Stock Elite. FantasyBasketball.com is the website. Number 3, where are we going next?
Okay, we'll get back to a guy I know you like, Freddie. I mean, especially in punt field goal percentage, he is just such an obvious steal if you're punting field goal percentage. He's already flirting with the top 25, and he hasn't even played that well. And then we're going to see his 3-point percentage trend up quite a bit. We're going to see his free throw percentage trend up quite a bit. He's been kind of a neutral guy in free throw. Usually he's a pretty clear positive. I'm not sure his assists are going to trend up that much. His potential assists are down a little bit, I believe, and he's playing a little less. But with the shooting from 3 and the line should go up. So he's probably going to get inside the top 15 in punt field goal percentage. Overall ranking might be down a little bit this year, like top 30-ish, maybe once his shooting comes around. And he went kind of late in a lot of drafts too. So I don't think he's going to be that expensive. I think you can get him probably for a top 50-ish guy after one of his duds. Because a lot of Fred's duds look real ugly, like just because of the shooting.
They certainly do. I don't know how the hell I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one. So I'm just going to jump straight into player v player. Would you give up? How am I going to do here? Would you? No, I know you love Bam Adebayo, so I'm not going to throw him in there. Would you give up Jared Allen for Freddie VanVleet?
Probably. Like as a value standpoint, yeah, but they're also so different. It would depend a bit team to team. Like I like Allen a lot too.
Let me try to get more into the guards and wings as opposed to a center. What about DeMar? Would you rather DeMar DeRozan or Freddie VanVleet?
Fred. I think he's got a little more upside. Yeah, DeMar's been better than expected with the Kings, and I'm a big DeMar guy. Usually, but they're playing so many minutes, and I worry a bit that he's starting to crack a little bit physically at his age and with the minutes he's playing. I worry about that a little bit. And now with Monk in the starting lineup too, they're all going to all the stars are going to take like a minor hit at least.
What about flame throwing Tyler Hero?
Easy.
So maybe that's the match right now.
Something like that would be perfect. That's a sell high too. So it's like the perfect match.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking for there. I got nothing else on. Like, I'd love to spend half the show just talking about Freddie VanVleet and how this is like. First of all, he almost always starts kind of slowly, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's been terrible," and he's basically a 4th rounder right now. Even if
he did the exact same thing last year, and then he was like a borderline top 10 guy for like 3 months. So
yeah, I just no fear there. And I it's one of those things where people don't feel like they can make a massive profit. So I don't think they're working on it as hard, but like squeezing a round and a half of value out of guys a little bit farther up the board is worth as much as turning like a top 100 guy into a top, I don't know.
For sure. And I would say guys like VanVleet that have like a very specific weakness, like that can get boosted really hard in the build, you can turn quite a bit of profit on. Like I find you can usually get a pretty good deal on like the really hardcore punt field goal percentage guys who just kill you in the category. And then all the punt free throw percentage bigs who are always ranked like way lower than it should be.
Yeah. So go check out your league. See if whoever has Freddie is punting field goal. If they are, you're probably not going to be able to get him.
Yeah,
if they're not, they're probably annoyed because he's shooting 39%. So go see what you can do. Adam G Stock, who is player number 4?
Devin Vassell. He has been crushing it on a per minute basis, but no one's really noticed because he's not playing that much. taking way more threes this year. His usage is up. His free throw attempts are up. A little bit of that is because he's coming off the bench. But I think there's a lot of upside here, and people just haven't caught on to it just yet.
This is my current favorite, by the way. I talked about this with Noah Rubin, and I'm so glad you brought him up as well. It's like a perfect storm with him too, right? Because you've got the working back from injury and manager frustration that he's still coming off the bench, even though obviously he shouldn't be once he's fully there. And heavens, are like the Champagny and Sohan and Harrison Barnes, are they going to completely ruin Devin Vassell? And there's like weird clouds over him that basically shouldn't be, because like you said, the per minute side has been awesome. He's hovering near the edge of the top 90 in only 24 minutes a ball game, but he's only played 9 games, and the minutes are low, and the bench stuff and all those things. And like, I think you could get him on the cheap. This is one of the ones I can't play devil's advocate here because I just like, I'm so hardcore with you on this that I'm willing to give up guys that are like a solid round and a half ahead of where he is right now. What are you willing to spend on Devin Vassell? Because it looks to me like the sky is the limit this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think he could sneak inside the top 50 for sure. So like top 75, no problem with me, as long as I was willing to be patient. Like I do understand some of the pushback against him, just because the Spurs are annoying. Like they will do some like stuff that doesn't make a ton of sense. And like, what are their goals this year? You know, like they started well. Do they want to end well? So that does worry me a little bit. But yeah, like I think, I don't know, like even if Vassell ended up playing like 28 minutes and the Spurs just got real dumb the entire year, like he would still be like a clear mid-round guy. So I think it's going to be hard to overpay for him, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And what I was talking about with Noah too, and I'll bring it up with you, is this last ball game was like the perfect time also, because it was a season high in minutes, but he finally shot poorly. So people are like, another stinker. He didn't even score that much. While the rest of us are like, oh, but now look, like the minutes, he's creeping up on starters minutes. I love this one with all of my heart. I love the fact that we have a few days here where they're not playing. So there's actually time if you wanted to do this. They don't play until Friday. You know, they've been off since Sunday. Yeah, I mean, he could blow up his buy low value if he has a good game against Portland in a couple of nights. But like, this is a great window. So go do it.
It's a great time. I mean, I have Vassell. I know that he's killing it quietly, and I'm still annoyed. So guys who aren't paying that close attention are probably like really, really annoyed.
And that's the thing. Like, you know better, and you're just like, I gotta wait this damn thing out.
Exactly.
But someone might not be as bullish on him and see all those signs, and they might be like, I'm not gonna wait on this guy anymore. But he's playing. That's the important part right now. So hell yeah. Adam, who is number 5? Who's gonna round out the bucket today?
Okay, this guy I'm not as like bullish on as the other guys, and it's more like a roto recommendation.
Ooh, you're coming into my neck of the woods.
Yeah, once I said the name, I'm really gonna be. So Tobias Harris, I just think like he's been so this year, but if he trends up just slightly, and I think he will because he's gonna shoot it a little. Well, it's not hard to see him go from like top 85 or whatever he's going to like top like 60-ish. So if you're punting one of his weak categories, you can probably get nice value there. In Roto, he's nice, obviously, because he does a little bit of everything. And Tobias is just a guy who always gets underrated. So he is going to come just dirt cheap.
By the way, I just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I forgot how many times he's been moved and how that's lengthened his annual log here. My only fear, you guys know I love Tobias. Everybody knows I'm a big Tobias guy. I will not push back you on the field goal percent. 45 is low. That's the lowest it's been in a decade. The free throw is a number that he's had typically higher than that. I mean, 84 could stick, but he's been in the high 80s a bit lately. My fear is the 11.8 field goal attempts. Can you talk me off the fear ledge with that particular number?
I don't think it's really going to go up that much. Like to be honest, like this is just like, I think the shooting can get him 15, 20 spots, I think, with Ivy looking good. But also their backcourt's been fairly healthy too. So so there is the possibility that we do see a bump, but I do think it's going to have to be through injury. So this isn't some guy I think is going to blow the doors off, but I think he is someone who is going to trend up.
The like you said, he's at 85 right now. I know he's not super exciting. It sounds like you, based on the analysis I'm hearing, and feel free to stop me from putting words in your mouth, it sounds like you'd be looking to try to swap him with somebody ranked pretty close to him, that you wouldn't want to pay too much overvalue right now, even if you get like a top 60 kind of Tobias run, that doesn't leave that much wiggle room.
Yeah, I mean, it's always Tobias. Guys hate on Tobias too. So I bet like I would be throwing around a top 100 guy after a big game. You know, like Tobias doesn't blow up that often. So if you get a guy who, I mean, these happen all the time these days. Like a top 100 guy who just got a 24-point game with like 5 threes or something like that. You know, just coming off a heater. Like that's a nice guy to throw over for Harris, who might have had like 15, 6 and 3 on decent percentages. You know, that's not sexy, but it's
yeah,
useful.
but that, you know what, Adam, that's sexy to me. It's in the eye of the roto beholder.
I agree.
Can I ask you a question about one player that you didn't bring up, and it's Malik Monk related, actually, because we talked about him just a little bit earlier on, and you mentioned how the Kings, like, they'll move some bodies around.
Yeah,
and stuff
so
like
Keegan,
that. No, I mean, it really is Monk. I just want to explore him a tiny bit further before I let you get back to your day. So like, for a lot of folks, they see this kind of thing, and it's pretty rare actually to have a player who we know has pretty good fantasy ability, but has been kind of capped by role or situation or whatever. And then there's that sort of in-season pivot. How do you, and this is sort of a broad, philosophical thinking man's kind of question, so there's no right or wrong answer, but like, how do you determine for a player like Monk, it doesn't even have to be him, what the projection should look like? Because he comes in and he's just like lava hot right now, and it's all hype and it's big lines. And how do you convince your readers to maybe temper expectations or cash in on that? What's the way that folks should think through this type of somewhat rare situation in a fantasy season?
Yeah, I always try to hedge just a little bit, because usually when these guys get a bump, who have great permanent numbers, once they start playing more minutes and once they start playing against starters as often, they don't quite hold up production wise. Monk definitely has so far, but I kind of doubt that it will long term. So I bring it up, and then you also you can't ignore that Brown has said a lot of things this year that haven't necessarily been true. Kerr's been doing it too. It's like, this is our starting lineup, and then it's not your starting lineup 2 games ago. So if I was a Monk manager too, I would really be cheering for the Kings to do well. They've been pretty mediocre so far, and if they go on a losing streak, I just don't necessarily trust the rotation to stay as it is. So definitely, you gotta get Monk on your roster. But if a safer guy, top 80-ish top guy pops up or is available, I would be very willing to make that move. You could get burned. Let's say Fox goes down, but you can't bank on situations like that. At the end of the day, fantasy is a game of probability. I think the most probable case is he's pretty good, but he's probably a headache the rest of the year.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was thinking too. I love the way that was framed as well. Just understanding that things change. You're going on probability. Probability says you take the guy that's a sure bet. And right now you got a whole lot of buzz on a dude who's playing his butt off. There's no doubt about that. But you don't want to risk any sort of if he goes back to the bench and does what he did before, he wasn't a standard league guy unless you were punting his weak category. So that turn him into someone where you don't have to worry about that. I'm all for it. Adam, you are the man. Thank you as always. And I know I say this every time, and I'm trying to flatter you, but also it's true. People just get smarter when they hang out with you. So thank you for bringing that to the show. He is at Adam G Stock on social media. You're off the hot seat. Thank you. Thanks. That's the end. That's the end.
Yeah, no, that was a fun chat. I all the day-to-day stuff, it's nice to switch it up, do some buy low, sell high. I know not everyone's paying too much attention to fantasy right now, but I would argue it's a good time to pay attention to fantasy, because you don't have to worry about the day-to-day stuff as much. You can look at your team and be like, is my team actually good?
Yeah.
Am I getting lucky? Am I getting unlucky? Your record isn't necessarily, it may not be a proper representation of how strong your team is at the moment.
Yeah. Setting your lineup is going to take a few seconds over these last few days. This is the perfect time to go look for trade opportunities. And I can verify, and I don't know if this is happening to you as well, but like I'm in a lot of Yahoo leagues. Many of them are public ones because it's easier to just parachute into those.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
people are proposing trades to me all the time right now. So clearly everyone is somewhat fantasy bored at the moment. And it's great. I love seeing these things pop up in my inbox. This is the time. Go get it done. Somebody might accidentally send me a bad offer, and I've clicked OK on those. But go make them happen yourself. But Adam, thank you for carving out time in your day. I really appreciate it. You are the man. Let's do this again soon.
For sure, man. That was a lot of fun. Thanks.
That's a great way to spend your lunch hour. Come on. Hanging out with me and mostly Adam Stock. Elite Fantasy Basketball. One more time, just so you guys know where you're going for all of his good stuff. EliteFantasyBasketball.com. He is, and I didn't call him by his nickname here during this show because I think it's maybe more relevant during draft season, but I do call him the Punt Master. The shows that we get to do with Adam during draft season are, for me, some of the most illuminating because personally, I don't think I'm the greatest at punting as sort of like a roto guy at my core. My heart wants to draft balanced unless it's so overwhelming. So like I'm in an 11 category league. I've talked about it over the years. I call it my weirdo league. An 11 category league, you have to punt. You're not going to have a balanced 11 category team. That's insanity. So that one's an easy one. I pick one or two categories. I just wipe them right off the board. Bingo. For standard 9 cat, you guys have heard, I tend to like to sort of kick the can down the road for team build type of stuff. And so talking to Adam and just understanding like ways to think through the board during draft season, his punt stuff is magnifique. But that's all we're talking about right now. His buy low, sell high stuff is also chef's kiss. I'm just going to say the word instead of making the noise because for folks listening after the fact, it probably sounded kind of gross. Quick recap on our names from today's show. Desmond Bane, buy low. Miles Bridges, buy low. Freddie VanVleet, buy low. Devin Vassell, buy low. Tobias Harris, buy low-ish. 4.5 buys. Everybody loves a good buy. And this actually sort of like dovetailed nicely with the show with Noah because mostly he had sells. Match them up, guys. I'd like to say it's like peanut butter and jelly, but now that I have a kid that's allergic to peanut butter, I got to come up with a new sandwich. Those shows moosh together. It's a Simpsons reference. I think it's like nuts and gum together at last is the Simpsons line, if I'm not mistaken. Noah show, stock show, nuts and gum together at last. Take your sells, take your buys, you take them all, and then you have the facts of fantasy trading in NBA Cup Week. I think that was the theme song to a show. Again, big thank you to Adam G. Stock for coming on the program today. He was, I believe, our 5th guest, but not our last. We got more awesome analyst guests coming up, and I'm talking slowly because I want to make sure that I have the number and order of them. Tomorrow morning, Alex Rickleen will make his 6th appearance on the show. This was number 5 for Adam Stock, by the way. Tomorrow afternoon, Alex Barutho will be on the show. That will be the 2 shows for Thursday. And then Friday, am I getting this right? Do we have a Friday? I think it's going to be Thunder Dan on Friday. Right? What the hell is today? Today's the 11th. Yeah, Thunder Dan on Friday, and then we'll also have our weekend review, even if not a great deal of stuff has actually happened over this last week. So that's what's coming up here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Big thank you to you guys for listening, for liking, for subscribing, for just being so unbelievably active. If you have thoughts on some of the trades that Adam proposed or some of the names, throw that in the comment section. You can, again, find us on social media. That's another way to get it, but it's probably easier to get a hold of us in the YouTube comments. What am I forgetting? That's it. I'm not forgetting anything. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.